Giorgia Meloni has been sworn in by the Italian president, becoming the country's first female premier and the first far-right leader since World War II. As Ukrainian forces continue to advance in the south, President Zelensky accuses Moscow of deliberately delaying vital grain shipments. At the European Council summit, EU leaders attempt to remain united over energy policy as France becomes the latest country to break ranks. Giorgia Meloni has been sworn in as Italy's first female Prime Minister and the country's first far-right leader to head the nation's government since the Second World War. Her coalition allies include the right-wing League of Matteo Salvini and the conservative Forza Italia party, headed by former Premier Silvio Berlusconi. 45-year-old Meloni took the oath of office before the Italian President Sergio Mattarella at the presidential palace on Saturday morning. The new leader had announced her cabinet on Friday ahead of the swearing-in ceremony. Her deputy and Minister for Foreign Affairs is Antonio Tajani, a former journalist and soldier who served as President of the European Parliament between 2017 and 2019. Although Meloni's Brothers of Italy party won the election, taking 26% of the vote, she still needed the support of Matteo Salvini's anti-migrant League party and former Premier Silvio Berlusconi's Forza Italia to form a coalition. Their parties polled 8% of the vote each in the election that saw a record low turnout. And although they'll all be working together, there have already been tensions. Berlusconi and Salvini are longtime admirers of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Meloni staunchly backs Ukraine in its defence against the Russian invasion. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused Russia of deliberately delaying the passage of ships carrying vital grain supplies. He said Algeria, Bangladesh, China, Egypt, Indonesia, Iraq, Lebanon, Morocco and Tunisia were among the countries affected by the delays. Zelensky claimed over 150 vessels were queued up in ports waiting to sail. During the operation of our grain initiative, due to the Russian slowdown, we under-exported about 3 million tonnes of food, and that's the annual amount of consumption for 10 million people. The Ukrainian president also praised his armed forces in his video address. He welcomed the capture of Russian military equipment in the southern Kherson region, where Moscow's troops face Kyiv's advancing counter-offensive. The President's office says 88 settlements have been deoccupied there. Citizens continue to leave Kherson as Russian and Ukrainian troops prepare for what observers think will be a major battle over the strategic southern city. Moscow has accused Ukraine of shelling a column of civilians fleeing Kherson, killing 4 and wounding 13.
The country's longest reigning monarch, greeting the person who would become the UK's shortest-serving PM. In a month and a half, Liz Truss has created unprecedented political turmoil.
Oh, it's a great pleasure.
What needs to happen now? Well, on a UK level, there must be a general election. It is a democratic necessity. The idea that the Tories can unite behind a Prime Minister now, any Prime Minister, let alone one that is in the public interest, I think is for the birds.
What will actually happen next is a process designed in haste by Conservative Party backbenchers, leaving nominees requiring more than 100 MPs to back their leadership. The frontrunners are Penny Mordaunt, the current leader of the House of Commons, Rishi Sunak, the former Chancellor who came second to Liz Truss, and, quite remarkably, the still popular Boris Johnson.
There is now a genuine possibility that Rishi Sunak will be joined by Boris Johnson in a runoff to become the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Both Sunak and Johnson are the current favourites amongst Tory MPs who've been early to pledge their support. Mr Johnson is still popular amongst Tory members who will vote online next week, less than 2 months after he left Downing Street. Could Boris Johnson be about to return?
Yeah, I think it's highly likely he's going to breach the 100 MP level of support, which will allow him onto the ballot paper. And all the polls are showing that if he's on the ballot paper, the membership are going to back him. I think that would be a retrograde step. I think he's got a lot of baggage. Events of the last 12 months, while he's been Prime Minister, I think were unedifying for the country and the Conservative Party and the government. But I think things have been so bad under Liz Truss that I think a lot of people are seeing him as a comfort blanket.
MPs must now decide who to put forward. If only one candidate breaches 100 backers, they will be appointed Prime Minister on Monday. If not, members will vote. Luke Hanrahan, Euronews, London.
Europe is being hit by a wave of cocaine, according to Europol. The law enforcement agency admits the problem is worse than it first realised, with organised crime networks better connected and increasingly violent. On Friday, justice ministers from 6 Western European countries met and vowed to make entry points like harbours more secure amid a dramatic increase in drug traffic.
For the last 4 years we have seen record seizures in Western Europe, so every consecutive year, with at least more than 240 tons of cocaine seized in 2021, at least, probably more. So that's a lot of cocaine on the market.
Security officials have agreed to strengthen ties with Latin American partners such as Peru and Colombia, where the UN says identified coca leaf plantations have increased by at least 43% since 2020. Much of the product ends up in Europe, and an EU report in May said record levels of drug trafficking are sparking violence across the continent.
After a 2-day gathering in Brussels, EU leaders have agreed on an energy roadmap to tackle the challenge of soaring utility bills and gas shortages in Europe.
Accord extrêmement important avec un effet immédiat puisqu'on a pu constater dans les dernières heures une baisse significative des prix, ce qui montre que agir dans l'unité, agir en européen a un impact et bien sûr nous allons rester mobilisés.
Heads of state and government appeared determined to preserve the appearance of a united EU. They kept the option of capping gas prices on the table and calls on the European Commission to work on extending the Iberian model, which regulates the cost of gas for electricity production to other countries. This would have to be accompanied by safeguards for countries like Germany, who are against market intervention.
We don't think that in a global market we can say unilaterally where the price should be. The only thing we can do is to fight against speculation in the market, which is giving wrong information about the real prices. And so this is about spikes, about this episodes of excessive gas prices.
The leaders also agreed on the principle of joint gas purchases on a voluntary basis. This would mean the EU could use its commercial weight to negotiate with its so-called reliable suppliers. They also touched on international issues like relations with China. With ongoing geopolitical challenges posed by Beijing, the 27 reaffirmed their hope for more strategic autonomy in the area of energy, defence and technology. Maeve McMahon, Euronews, Brussels.
Since 1984, the Turner Prize has been awarded annually to a contemporary artist born or living in the UK. 4 finalists have been shortlisted in this 38th edition of the prize, which is one of the world's most distinguished for visual arts. Works vary this year from traditional painting to video and performance art. The pieces are on display at Tate's Liverpool, and the winner will be announced in December. One of the most iconic Catholic cathedrals in Spain is hosting an exhibition containing a hyper-realistic and volumetric artwork entitled The Mystery Man. The exhibition is the result of 15 years of research into the Holy Shroud of Turin, the relic believed to have been used to wrap Jesus' body after his death. Using analysis from the shroud, the Mystery Man exhibit includes a sculpture of what Jesus' body might have looked like after crucifixion. Every year in the southern French town of Montpellier, films from Spain, Greece, Tunisia, Israel, Palestine and across the Mediterranean region are showcased. And for the very first time, a couple will chair the jury of the festival's Cinémade, the actor Rachida Brakni and her partner, the famous footballer turned actor Eric Cantona. This year's opening film was L'Immensità by Italian director Emanuele Criolasi, starring Penelope Cruz.